I was any more excited, I'd have to be twins. I've got Sarah Dawkins with me today. She was here last Sunday, blew the roof off of the whole place in a real positive way, actually set records for audience attendance and interaction. We had 161 comments just during the LinkedIn Live.
Wow.
And just knowing Sarah for a short period of time has made so many things better for me, but more importantly, so many things better for the program, because it's almost like a wiki or a mosaic. As everybody comes here, can put another jewel in the overall, art piece. I want to share everything. That chat's open. Please, you are the reason we're here. The more chat, the more knowledge share, the more community. Can't get enough of it. Manuel Solario, I know he's in Mexico, Cabo. Thank you. He's been a consistent supporter, and the audience is just out of sight. Manuel, watching you from Cabo, great. Mike, and then I'll introduce Sarah. The sooner you meet her, the sooner you know her, the better. Mike was supposed to be our co-host on Friday and broke his ankle on Thursday, and sent me a picture of him getting carried down the mountain. And we were still communicating, and he was actually looking to see how we could fill his spot so someone would take it. And it was actually the first time we had Kelly and Christy together, two people, because it's starting to book up, and I want to get as many stories, as many voices out there. Paul is here. Paul was our co-host yesterday. Hey, Don and Sarah. And here's Victoria. Had a long conversation with Victoria. She was really into the subjects we're talking about, and a constant supporter. Can't thank her enough. Mike says, hi, Sarah. Oh, and Christy's here. Christy was the co-host on Friday. She has so much perseverance and got a no-quit attitude. You got to meet Christy. And with that, you got to really meet Sarah again. Sarah, tell us about your experience last week and what you see a program and being able to do for people like this.
Wow, it was fabulous last week to come on and to meet all these amazing people that turn up every day for you, Don. But not only that, I mean, they were having a conversation with us, but people were talking amongst themselves as well. And that's what you're all about, isn't it? It's about bringing those connections together, helping people to meet other people and sharing those conversations that some people might not otherwise have had.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the key is now it's every day. What you know, and I'm finding out, is there's such a need for community, for friendship, for support. And what I was thinking about, because me and Sarah had a really great conversation 10 minutes before this, and we were talking that when we went live, it was seamless. We just kept talking, but we opened the curtain for everybody to participate and actually direct us. Is that, there's so many people who need healthy relationships, especially when they're not healthy themselves, right? So if everybody really brings people together in a mutual beneficial way, collaboration. What's your thoughts, Sarah?
Yes, absolutely. Collaboration is key. And Christina's put that she's hoping Michael, Paul, and herself can work together. And Paul's put, one conversation could change your life. It really is about meeting people. And don't you find, I don't know about you, but I found recently that people have come into my life at a time when I've needed whatever it was that they had. And they've said the same about myself. And I do find that synchronicity at the minute is really powerful. And I've met some fabulous people who are along the same wavelength as I am, and they can support me and I can support them. And it is absolutely about building that trust between people. And sharing, being truly authentic, sharing the real you, because quite often we put on like a mask, if you will, or a persona, and we become somebody who we think other people might like, rather than being true to ourselves. So if we can be true to ourselves, we will attract the right people for us, and we will build better relationships because we're building it on an authentic base. We're not building it on a facade. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes more than sense. It's something that one can put into their compass going forward. And, I think it's just having people with you to start with. Too many people are looking for, how can I do better? How can I be with people who are at places I'm not there yet? I think where everybody wants to start is where they are, with people who appreciate and respect where they are. There's, as much as there's people who need help, there's people who need to help. It really
Yeah.
does fill a need. And I found since starting this show, I didn't realize how much purpose something could bring, right? That when I think of the show, I don't think of my show or what I'm going to do. I think of this growing audience that is slowly slipping out of the shadows, right? Because they've been bombarded with spam and offers, and everybody complains about getting too salesy, before people get a chance to know you. And although you're here possibly to further your career or your business or your thought leadership, it doesn't always have to condense into currency.
No.
What you find is it can fill needs that are far more valuable and important to you that you don't have, which is a support system.
Absolutely. Relationships are so powerful. And as I was saying to you earlier before we came on live, the relationship that we have with ourselves is so important. And not many people have got that really good, deep relationship with themselves because they're dealing with some stuff. So once we can heal that inside turmoil and we can start loving ourselves, we can build those better relationships, as I said earlier, on that foundation of who we are really. And once we start building those relationships, we can support each other. And it's not about financial support. It's about what can we do to help each other, just to buoy faith or confidence, just to support somebody in a way that they need, just to be kind to people. And the more that we do that, the better our relationship will be with ourselves, the better we will learn how to have relationships with other people. And who knows, businesses and finances can come from that, but it shouldn't be all around finance. It should be about being kind, being open, being honest, just being nice people, but who we are authentically.
Yeah. And after that, it's like I have a hard time starting something new, because that should resonate for a much longer time with people. But here's the thing. If everybody on this show just landed from Mars, right, and didn't have one connection or a clue, in front of you are probably 10 or 12 people who decided to take the time today to be with other people like themselves, to put another brick in the wall, to share their feelings, and even people who are now saying, like, right here is a great conversation last week, and it was authentic and transparent, but most of all, being safe to be all of that.
Yes.
People they're overloaded with stuff to share. They're underloaded with people they trust to share it with.
Yeah.
Right? So once that opening shows up, it's like a fire hose. And the beauty of it is it empties you out of things that were stuffing and gives you space now to fill it with what today is relevant. So many people find themselves in life because of potluck, because of serendipity, right? I met this person here and before you knew it, blah, blah, blah. Or I got out of school and someone offered me a job and I needed money. And 30 years later, I'm still doing something that isn't my true heart's passion. But today is the day, right? You can decide, I'm going to go with this crowd who already shows their intent, and not just what they say, showing up. When you see somebody over and over again, they're not living a lie, right? It's called just the way it is. Accept it and go with it. And, stretch yourself to embarrass yourself if you think it's embarrassing by giving too much one day, right? How many times you make a mistake and you came up short because of something? why not come up long and give the extra measure to the person? Because they're going to come up with a better measure. So, what's your thoughts? I mean, one thing about Sarah, she brings out not only, well, we bring, I believe, the best in each other, but more importantly, the best with the audience. And the more I am of the audience and less of me, the more I can help, right? If you're doing all the knobs and the switches, you don't have time for the important stuff. What's your thoughts, Sarah?
Absolutely, and I'm like yourself. I'm a giver, and at times I'm an overgiver. And people like ourselves, we tend to overgive because for us it's about showing that we care. It's a way that we've learned to show that we care in the giving. And for some people, myself, well, my old self, I'm getting better. I'm healing that part of me. It was really difficult to receive. If I met another giver and they wanted to give like I give, I found it embarrassing and uncomfortable for me to receive that, whatever it was that they were giving. And part of my own healing process was to learn that it's okay to receive as well, because I get happiness. I nourish my soul in giving. And why would I deny somebody else? If they're having the same feeling, why should I deny them that? And I've learned to receive graciously. And as Althea's put, show up, just be there for people. Show up as the real you. We all put on personas for different crowds, but actually, if we come back to being ourselves, we can just be ourselves everywhere. And the people that like us will stay in our lives. And the people that no longer resonate with who we've healed to become as our true authentic self will fall away. And one big lesson that we need to learn is it's okay for those people to fall away. Don't see it as a loss of friends. See it as a loss of people who no longer resonate with the person that you are becoming, the real person, the real you. Is that understandable?
Yeah, I was just trying to how I can complement that. And what I've learned, and I've had probably a little bit more time to learn it than some other people in the audience, is that some people only meant to come into your life just for a little bit to do something and then move on, right? Not everybody's a keeper, and not everybody wants to be a keeper. But I know that someone just kind of like on a railroad track, they just switched, and all of a sudden, instead of going on the old track, you got onto a new track, and it was just because of that person who switched that track for you. If you think of the ultimate when you start out, what would be the ultimate day, the ultimate laugh, and now you've got all these targets, right? These goals, how do I get the most ultimate peanut butter sandwich today? And, maybe add a couple of peanuts, maybe you put some honey on it, whatever it is, you can create magic on little things. And little things is where you start to get into middle things and then ultimately bigger things. But the most important thing is enjoying the journey
And
finding
starting
ways to celebrate. If most people's reason for challenge is because they absorb so much disappointment and frustration and they continue to propagate it, versus the other way, we're just walking across the street, they bless themselves and say, thank you for my feet. I mean, how many people really give gratitude to things that are just there and keep doing what they're supposed to do? And that's the thing, is find yourself to be the most priceless possession on earth. And if you think that way, people will feel that way about you, right? And you'll attract people or attracting like-minded, relevant, aligned people. But, relationship capital is financial capital.
Can I add in there, Don, about relationships? Because you mentioned about people coming into your time. There's a quote, I can't remember who said it, but people come into your lives for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. So there's 3 types of people. And as you say, not everybody comes into your life is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So either they're coming to teach you something, or you're going to teach them something. And then when that lesson is learned, they will leave your life. And it's not because they're a bad person or they don't like what you said. It's because that lesson has been learned by yourself or by others. So and we need to accept that the loss of a friendship isn't really a loss. There's been a lesson in it. And we need to understand what that lesson was. Was it for us, or was it for them? But we need to allow that letting go, because all too often we can want to hold on to something because we don't want to let it go. But if you look at the Buddhist philosophy, nothing is permanent. Everything is transient. So we need to get over our fear of loss, because we come into our life with nothing and we leave with nothing. So if we can understand that everything that we've got is transient and we can't take anything with us, we don't have that need then to hang on to things because of a fear of loss.
Yeah, how profound. And if you have nothing, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And if you have nothing, everybody around you has the same nothing, right? So that in itself equalizes everybody. Everything is what it is, and then it's whatever you add to it for as long as you want to add to it, right? If you broke a glass yesterday, any time thinking about it is not going to unbreak that glass, right? And it's going to take you off of what you could be doing or thinking. The other thing, just to add on to what you just said or compliment it, it's not everybody comes into your life forever, but you're not supposed to go into other people's lives forever either.
Exactly.
Right? You have, life to me is like a stage, and everybody gets their part, everybody gets their position, everybody gets their costume, everybody gets their lines, in a way of speaking. And that's what it's meant for. It's not meant to take somebody else's lines or say who's got better lines or who's got a better costume, because once you do that, you're ripping things apart.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of building things. And once you build, you can leverage. If you build on rock instead of sand, and rock is people that they can't help but show up as authentic. Right? You just know. I mean, I used to I owned a pretty sizable company. I used to interview everybody, no matter how big the company was. I had to interview them before they started, just so it might be the only chance I get to know them, and know what their name meant and what their family is. And then I create all these wonderful family events every month that they can bring as many people, grandparents, uncle, anybody who could bowl. It was welcome, free food. And I can't tell you how many grandparents and parents thanked me for what I was doing for their kids. And everybody supported each other, and if you go 90%, instead of just going extra 10, why don't you throw in another 10 and go 20 extra?
Yeah, be that giver.
Yeah, and be the completer. Like I would mention the other day, some people got 80% looking for 20 to be whole. Some people got 20 looking for 80.
Yeah.
But each one of them are looking for more than what they have.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of saying, hey, let's just get what we need, and together we'll be better. And then fix, if you can, it's not a good term, other people's situations by matching them up with people who are in that situation, because that's not measured on a balance sheet, right?
And have gratitude for what we've got. So if we've only got 20% and we're looking for that 80, we'll have gratitude for that 20%. If you've got the 80%, have gratitude for that 80%. And like you said earlier, gratitude for your feet for walking, gratitude that you wake up every day, that your heart's beating, gratitude that there are people in your lives, and gratitude for shows like yours, Don, where people can reach other people and find the community and speak out in a safe space. We need more of that, because people have been isolated for so long. We need to bring more people together. And just be truly authentic, just be who you're meant to be. And there's another saying that you're right where you're meant to be, as in You know, you've learned some lessons. You might be in the middle of a lesson at the minute, and there will be more lessons to learn in the future. But everything's happening at the right time when it's meant to be, and you're right where you're meant to be. Yes, we can all have goals for the future, but look at where you've come from. As I said in our last week's show, only look at your own path. We can often look at other people and go, well, I've only got 20% and they've got 80%. And what do I need to do to get that? We can look at them to gain clarity in ourselves, but don't start comparing, well, I've only got 20 and they've got 80. You know, why it's not fair and why have they got 80? And we can't compare ourselves to other people. We are who we're meant to be. We are who we are. Let's look at our journey that's got us to here, pull out the blessings and the lessons, do a bit of self-reflection, and then understand what we can do to look for our goal in the future. And we can build milestones into that. But at some point, our path is never going to be straight from here to there. We can build those milestones in, and we might veer off course a little bit, but we'll pass that milestone, and then we'll pass the next one. But the biggest piece of advice I could give is do it in tiny baby steps. You know, look at what's the smallest thing you can do to move yourself from where you are now to where you want to be. Because when we look at where we want to be, if it's a million miles away from where we are now, it looks.
I think you're frozen, Christine. But what Christine is saying is so, I mean, there's no preparation for what Christine is bringing to the audiences that she shares her story with, and mostly helps build our own stories in progress. You know, they say it's a work in progress. This is a story, and now it looks like it's going to be more of a movement. I'm hoping Sarah can log back in. Technology is always a challenge, and that's part of it. But these comments are just so great. I know Christine's story about having a birthday and having someone take care of, the beauty shop appointment she had, and that was great. I can't wait to have Christine on the show eventually. I mean, she's just unbelievable in every way. Kelly says, show up and be present in the moments. Mike says, yes, Paul, we should not worry about saying too much or the wrong things on this channel. There is no wrong thing. You know, either you're learning or you're earning. And failure, there is no failure. It's only feedback. And if you're with supporting people who really care about you, here we go. Hi, Sarah. We missed you.
Hey, I don't know what happened. I just disappeared.
Yeah, but you're back, and that even makes it better. We should have planned it because you built so much anticipation leaving, and now you're back. You know, and to speak to what you were saying, it's, you know, there's a saying, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And
yes.
What I loved about what you're saying is, you know, taking baby steps, you know, not overwhelming yourself, but here's for the people who can't even take baby steps. Listen to shows like this. Get Sarah's book. You know, look at our profiles. Here's the thing too, if finances are a challenge, and it typically is, so don't feel alone in that respect either. Every LinkedIn Live I've ever done is on my LinkedIn profile, right? And everything that Sarah's ever done is on her LinkedIn profile, whether it's articles or whether it's even things she referred. You have a treasury of legacy content, evergreen content that everybody on the show has created. I would immerse myself in it because there's a saying, act as if you are and you'll become, right?
Yes.
You know, if you want to be a champion golfer, wake up with one, see what they eat, see how they work out, and play like they play, and you can't help it. That's just the way it is. Yes, Paul, we should not worry about saying too much or the wrong things on this channel. You decide where you stand.
Yeah.
I tend to forgive myself as fast as I can. I'm practicing chuckling at things that used to get me frustrated, but I find it more curious now than personal. When you're at the driver's license bureau and all of a sudden they shut down right before you or something like that. In the past, you would just let that or allow it or expect it and then reaffirm it. I met a young girl. She was 12 years old, and it was some dinner or something, and she had just tried out for a top part in a Broadway play, and she came in second. And I asked her, and she was only 12 years old. I said, "So what do you think?" She says, "I just know that there was something better waiting for me, and this is going to give me the opportunity to get it." Right?
Yeah.
So, like Wayne Gretzky said, most players go where the puck is. I go where the puck is going to be, and you can create that. And it's really how you phrase it. But when you have people who love you, care about you truly, that's enough to keep you straight, to keep you with them because you don't want to lose them. So in a lot of ways, you're doing things to please good people to benefit yourself, where in the past, you may have done a lot of things to please not so good people just to maintain what wasn't satisfactory. And more importantly, we're starting to see this program is about health. Well, and initially you would think it was financial health, but it's turning into mental health, emotional health. And if you take humanity away from somebody, that's hard to be a good human.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with technology, with too much to do. You've got to protect yourself and your time and what you do with it. I always love to walk in parks every day. Me and my wife find new parks around us and we'll just walk. And it's like a place in the sun, and it's so great. So anyways, here's Christine. So on Friday, a friend gave me a generous birthday. Yeah, somebody paid for her birthday beauty appointment, and without even Christine knowing who it was, but someone heard her say, "This is my birthday," and blah, blah, blah. And that was enough for someone to, really treat somebody. And look at what it did. It wasn't a significant amount of money, but, it was money. But it made Christine's day. Christine shared it with us. This is now going out to the audience. Now Christine will always be viewed as the person who was fortunate on her birthday. And I would take that as a good sign because so many people try to take things as a bad sign. It's like anticipating, oh, this is, something's going to happen, and now you're anticipating it and you eventually will attract it and bring it on if you don't help yourself. Here's Victoria, being your authentic self. What's so cool about this? No matter how many shows we have, it's the same message because it's universal, right? If we're talking about tagging strategies or content creation, you get into all this unnecessary stuff that is everywhere. And if this was the show after 3 days of tagging strategy, you couldn't do another show. When you're dealing with the human possibility, every day is a factor of whoever is there with wherever they're at with what they need help. And that, as long as you feel comfortable, stretch to get even more comfortable. And it's not just to let it all hang out. Nobody wants that. And I've said before, tragedy without triumph is not a good story. Because everybody's got a story like that. But people want to know about redemption, about reinvention, about coming back. That's what we should make this show, the comeback story. Come back to yourself, come back to your dreams, and come back to people you can choose for the first time to be your group, not a collection of people that came through different channels at different times of your life. Why not freshen up? Christine says, and if you have any thoughts to that, Sarah, feel free. I agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes you change and others don't change with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing about your platform, Don, is that all the guests that you have on show up as their authentic self. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody that's watching sees these people as their authentic self. So they're able to make connections with these people. And the other thing is, we don't know who our connections know, and by word of mouth, something that you've said or one of your guests said on the show can be passed through a chain of people and help somebody that you, myself, or any of your other guests have no idea who they are, but yet they've been helped by something that's been said authentically on the live show.
Yeah, and I do everything I can to promote them. To every newsletter every week is the best comments of the week. So now they show up again to the whole audience, and got about 10,000 subscribers really quick. So that's exposure. Then I also list every one of our LinkedIn lives for the 7 days. So like yourself, and tag everybody so they can look at them all at once or whenever they want, but every week it's going to be there. But it's all promoting what's being shown here. So you have to look at it like an amplification.
Yeah, it's cooperation. It's not competition, it's cooperation.
Yeah, it's
and
like
I think that builds more bigger tribes than competition.
Well, and it's inclusion and it's diversity.
Yeah.
It's making everybody feel welcome. Yes, resonate and natural, but the universe has your back. And if you believe it, it's true. They say if you don't believe it, it's true too. It's whatever you believe. When you get time, check out this, and it's spot on. Okay, well, everybody's got that. I appreciate it. Sheila, and Sheila is a continuing guest. Christine, attraction, not promotion. Yeah, they say be interested, not interesting,
Yeah.
and that's important. Paul, I think it was Tyler Perry. Okay. Keep going. Rashid, who's here almost every day from, I believe it's Saudi Arabia, but hello, everyone. I'm late today. It was funny that I had people saying, I love your show, but I'm so busy. I don't know when I'll find time to make it. And now that same person a week or two later says, I've blocked out that time every day.
Fabulous.
Well, you want to keep trading up. You want to get with people who make you better for being around them, not for what they give you, just for their influence, just for their support. Here we go with gratitude and keep being your authentic self. The right people will come into your life. You don't need that many right ones, because if they're right ones, you're gonna really get involved and stick with them. And for the first time in a long time, really feel alive. Because everybody's lived long enough to compile so many wonderful experiences, so many experiences where someone was clapping, someone was bundles, and that's what you should draw back in times of challenge. Not, I'm not good enough, I failed here, I continue to propagate something. It's just, you create these stories that you don't even want, but you keep telling yourself that every time you're looking for a story. So, it's all about change. And if you can't change, the question is, could we?
And it was Tony Robbins, wasn't it, that said, if you want to change your life, change your story. Change the story you tell about yourself.
Yeah, why not?
And be that person, like you've said, step into that person who you want to be. How would the person you want to be act? What would they do? What would they eat? Who would they mix with? Where would they go? Be that person in the now. Don't wait for it to happen. Draw it to you. Be it now.
Well, absolutely. And, they say you should live your life every day like it's your last, because one day it will be.
Yeah.
Right. And if this was your last day, I don't think you'd be looking at your checkbook. I don't think you'd be worrying about something that's never going to happen now, some physical issue, some relationship. You know what you probably want to do? is be around the things you love the most,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
have
yeah, and you know what? Then live like this is your last day. Pretend it is, and see how much fun you have. And they say out of 100% of things that people worry about, 90% never come true,
yeah.
and the other 10 you could never have predicted, right? So how do you prepare? I had a really smart CFO one time, and he says, you can't prepare for everything in life. He said, what happens if a bus hits you tomorrow? What's your plan? Who knows? Maybe you don't have a plan. Maybe you got a plan. But the point is why not wait for it to be there and deal with it instead of dealing with things that are never going to be there and distract you from the things that are right in front of you? There's that song, Love the One You're With. It was a Stephen Stills song from the late 60s even. And it just made sense. Instead of waiting for something that may never come, especially if you're waiting for something that you created that would almost be impossible to come. And the other thing is, who wants you if you're not wantable to them?
Yeah.
Right?
Can I jump in there, Don?
Please.
One thing that a lot of us struggle with is that wounded child that's still within us. We wrap it up in cotton wool, but we haven't actually dealt with it. So we need to take a look at that child. What does that child need? Give it a love. And if that means hugging yourself as that child, so seeing yourself as that child, do that. Put your hand on your heart and tell yourself, I love you. You are enough. You are worthy. And be that person that the child you wanted, needed, and possibly didn't get. So if you can nurture and nourish that wounded child inside, and I hold a vision of like opening my heart up and putting that little me inside my heart so it's safe and it knows it's loved. And it's just a simple exercise, but that visualization is so powerful because so many of us have got that wounded child that still needs healing, that we haven't dealt with. And it's that spills out into our daily life. And as a wounded person, we still spill out those emotions. So once we understand where it's coming from, we can hug that little child, nourish it, tell it that, we're sorry for what it's been through. But at the time, we didn't have the skills and knowledge that we've got today to deal with whatever situations we found ourselves in. And just really hold that little child, bring it inside, tell it it's loved, it's safe, it's worthy, and hold that vision and nurture and nourish that child. And it has such a profound effect on your life now.
Yeah, I mean, all this should resonate, and it does, because everything we're talking about, everybody's experienced in one way, shape, or another. And it's the people you have that keep you going when you can't go any further. It's the people that depend on you. I saw so many people in life do miraculous things because they were called for a greater purpose, right? And they were heroes, and they were brave, and they were respected. When you look at time, it's like endless, right? But we only live 70, 80 years. So we're a small, not even a sand on the beach. And the size of the universe is so huge. And let's say we're 5, 6 feet tall. We're another sand on the beach of that.
Yeah.
So why take ourselves so seriously? This was meant to be exciting, adventurous, challenge yourself, have a story. And, your story will continue to ripple through the people that are here today around you. But, just as importantly, will have value to continue. I know my grandparents' stories they told me, and, and uncles and aunts, and whether they were actually very practical, I always knew they were intended with love and to support. And that was more important. Everybody says they hear your music before they ever listen to your words, And it's those kind of people that make you just feel better. And, you know, it's kind of like any habit, but hopefully a good one. You want more of it. You want more of them. And pretty soon, to get more of them, you got to push somebody out who isn't serving you anymore. Right. And you're just optimizing. I mean, this is so great. I have to remind myself 7 times, and you should, you know, pleasure and fun and all this is work. I mean, it's just like plants. If you don't water them, if you don't take care of them, they're not going to take care of themselves or you. And if you say, where do I want to put my time? It should be, where does it give me the most enjoyment? Where am I the most happy? You know, and like I say, sometimes when you're feeling blue, just look at a bird. Look at how miraculous that is, or a tree, or the sky. I mean, all these things you could never create. They're masterpieces, but because they're always there and you don't have to pay for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And just get outside as well if you're feeling down and blue. You know, the walking, the activity of walking is so helpful. Deep breathing whilst you're outside, breathing all that clean air if you're in green space, and become aware. It's called mindfulness. Become aware of what's around you. Really take in, what are the colors? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? Really ground yourself in that moment, because nature really nourishes the soul. So if you're feeling in need of something, go outside. I remember one day I was doing a course and I felt so anxious in this course because I was so out of my depth. At break time, I literally ran out of the room and there was a rose bush in the garden. And I literally scooped up the rose and smelt it. The perfume was amazing. And it's so simple to do. Nature is just so beautiful, but it's energizing as well. It will help lift you up. Even on grey days, there's green grass, there's trees in leaves, there's animals and insects, and just in awe, just look in awe of what's around you, but really take it all in on a sense level, really take in the sensory.
Well, you know, that's so beautiful, because now people have an idea of that they never would have if they weren't listening to you right now. And now people are saying, I should try that. At least they say that, or that would be a nice thing to do, even though they may not intend to do it. But that's the first step to opening the door to it. Yeah. And pretty soon someone's going to see a park and say, you know, I should actually take this opportunity to walk it. You know, the funny thing you say is, yesterday I got so excited. You know, it's like when you fall madly in love and eating and sleeping don't seem to matter. You know, you forgot you skipped a meal, or you get up at 4 and you're so excited. Well, I was so excited yesterday that everything, within 10 minutes, I'm walking, you know, and I ended up walking 3 miles without even knowing it, because I was just getting into what I was listening to. I listen to a lot of personal development or some uplifting music. And I felt so refreshed. You know, so many times you have so much to give and you don't wear yourself out enough, right?
Yeah.
Just let it settle and sit. And to me, I think so much better on my feet. And I think so much better when I'm not trying to think, you know, when I'm just walking and looking at something, and then all of a sudden an idea will come into your head. And it's because you're fresh, you're open, you're not, you know, having an issue with that. One other thing that's so incredible about this is people like Sarah, people like Kelly, Christy, Christine, I can just keep naming they name themselves here, right? What's so cool is everybody has an extended family on LinkedIn. So because of that, Kelly, I met Christy. Now, Sarah, I met Andrea
Stadthalter.
Yeah. And we had the most unbelievable chat last week for about an hour and a half. And I heard her story, and she mentioned that she's a supporter of yours, and she's in the Netherlands. I know you're in Spain, so this is getting to be quite international. And she's coming on Thursday for the first time as a co-host. And,
Wonderful.
and I really want everybody to be here for that. Every day is special, but
Yeah.
some of these stories, you learn so much from not ever having to pay the price that these people had to pay for their story. And more importantly, they're telling their story. So the people who are still thinking, should I comment? You know, why wouldn't you? You know, and that's the key, is when you say, I don't want to, is like, what's the offset to doing it? Because what's easy to do is easy not to do. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for sharing this with people they care about, because if it's good for you, it's good for them, and they remember where they got it from.
And it's building the community. It's just growing it exponentially.
Absolutely. And it's building like-minded people, right? So the people that Kelly really relates to the things that you're into. It's almost pre-qualifying people just by association and third-party validation.
Yeah.
So this is so cool. Oh, love that, Sarah. Pull out the blessings and the lessons. Do it in tiny steps.
Yeah.
You know, just that saying, you know, I told a story about a village didn't have anything to eat and they made stone soup. And, you know, I've heard other people say, I've told other people that story 4 times this week, you know, or a nifty saying that sticks with you, you know, is important. Kelly, grateful those I met here. Okay. And authentic messages received. Well, you know, what I do is I trust everybody to trust themselves to know and feel what they're doing and seeing. And when people say this, it's because they feel it. They know it. You are either learning or earning. Love it. Alex, who's yes to immersion. You know, and what's also fascinating is people are coming into our orbit are now creating their own orbit. You know, I can't tell you how many people who were intimidated about going LinkedIn Live then loved it and now are doing it themselves. You know, there's nothing better to learning, teaching, and teaching how to teach. And I love to see people graduate and move on. I really do. I don't want to hold on to anybody who's on their journey. And I know they're holding a spot for someone who's on their way to where they were. So it's like, you know, one of those, the old days, the fire departments, they'd have a bucket line, you know, and they just have an army of people just pushing buckets up and down the line. And together they put out great fires, you know, and maybe we could create a fire here.
And somebody said earlier, I can't remember where it was in the comments, the ripple effect, you know, as you've said, as we help people to support themselves and each other through doing the LinkedIn Live, they then support other people who support other people. And the information is just perpetuated. And as Gretchen has said actually before that one, if you live it, give it. And if you know it, show it. Give. Fabulous. Absolutely. Let's share. Let's collaborate. You know, let's not compete. Let's just collaborate with each other. We can do so much more when we collaborate.
Well, and why not? If the goal is to be with the people that you need and can serve today, that's the only people that matter. You know, I've got 37,000 connections. The only thing today that matters is anybody who's on the show or is listening to the show, because that's where I'm at and that's what I'm doing today. The things I met people 2-3 years ago, I was a different person. I had a different agenda. They were in a different place. Like I always say is, you know, it's easier to give birth than raise the dead. And people keep going back to what isn't working with people who don't want to work with you. And because you have nothing right now in front of you, that's what you think, you go back to what is there, where there is an email or a phone number. And you know you're compromising when you do it, right?
Yeah, because it's easier to step back into the known, isn't it, than forwards into the unknown. And it is that stepping forwards into that total unknown and accepting that there is fear there because it's an unknown. But actually, once you step into that fear and do whatever it was that you were looking at doing, you build confidence and courage. And the more you keep stepping into that unknown, the bigger your comfort zone gets and the more confidence and courage you build. It's just a ebb and flow.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I've learned to jump off so many cliffs and grow wings before I hit the ground, and that's what people have to trust themselves is you don't know what's coming, but whatever it is, you can deal with it 1 second at a time. And I found sometimes some of the biggest tragedies in my life, I was smart enough to know I wasn't going to deal with it overnight, and it was going to be something that's going to be a long-term deal. And that gave me comfort, because then I said, well, I'll think about it tomorrow. There's a saying, respond, don't react. And too many people react to things where if they just had one more night and just say, listen, that's pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Can I think about it and get back to you tomorrow? Nobody's going to say no, right?
And practice the pause.
Yeah. And again, if you already have your mission and goals set out, what are you targeting? What are you on the hunt for, in a good way? Who could make you better that you could make even better to them? Where does your currency get the most value? And really, how do you give it? People forget the amount. They always know how it was presented. And when I had my company and I had a lot of people in customer service, I would tell everybody, if you're going to do something, do it fast and with a smile. Nobody wants to know that you're doing them a favor. Gretchen is here. And actually, Gretchen's here tomorrow as our host. She's been our co-host on Mondays, 3 months almost.
Wow.
Gretchen has an incredible story. I advise, if you can, to have an opportunity to listen to it. Gretchen is a perfect example of somebody who wasn't exactly planning on doing LinkedIn Lives, but has really found her opportunity. She just shines. It was kind of funny, Sarah, after our LinkedIn Live was over, and I know we talked about this a little bit before going live, I shared our going live with my wife, and I said, what do you think? But I didn't put the sound on, and all she could see was your smile and how you projected. And that alone communicated things that even words themselves couldn't. So if you're authentic and you really allow yourself to show to as many people as possible, to help as many people as possible, you get over shyness. There's a story is, let's say there's a rope between two tall buildings, like the 30th floor, and it's windy. And someone says, I'll give you this much money to go across that rope. And most people, no matter how much money, they wouldn't do it. But if someone put someone's baby on that windowsill, they would run across it, right? And that's the key. If your why is big enough, you'll figure out the how to. And to Sarah's point, when you surprise yourself with things that you've done that you never thought you could do, you wonder, what's the next thing I thought I couldn't do, right? And that's the domino effect. What do you think, Sarah?
Absolutely. And I don't know if I'm allowed to mention about what we talked about, where my journey's heading. Is that okay?
Oh, for sure.
So people know that I've written my book, Heal Yourself, on my course, Heal Yourself, and I've won a competition to set up my own podcast. And I knew from when I did my coach training back in 2016, I needed to step out and do more video work. And I've had camera anxiety ever since, since way before that as well. And I have stopped myself from stepping out and doing video work because of that camera anxiety. But now that I've won this prize and I just put it out to the universe, if it's for my greater good, then please help me to do whatever I need to do. Because my why is not only to share my story, but other people's stories. And like in my book, 74 people, I'm sharing their story through my book. Andrea Stadhalter, who's coming on with you next week, shared her story through my course with 15 other people from LinkedIn. And now I'm moving to podcasting because it's helping me to share information about health and healing to other people. I'm giving that information to help people to help themselves, because we can all heal ourselves, but we need to know why, and sometimes we need our hand holding. So I have to get over myself and step out of that fear of the camera and put myself in front of the camera and record some podcast episodes. And it's my why to help other people. And I mess up. You know, I've recorded 3 episodes at the minute, and I've stumbled over words, and I've retaken it and edited it. But I've got to do it because it's my why. My why is to help others, to help themselves. I can't help everybody, but I can help people to help themselves. So I have to get over that fear. I have to. There is no other option. It's do it, or I'm not serving the people who I'm put here to serve. So if you can understand your why and you feel it so passionately, you will step into that fear and that unknown and get out and do whatever it is that fear is holding you back.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gretchen, and thank you, Paul.
No, and that's so, you brought so much value to the show last week, and you've built on it this week. And so many wonderful people are now getting to know you that would have never gotten to know you, and may share you with people they really care about. And, you know, that's the thing, is people are so interested in result, they forget about intention and action. Not everything gets you everything you want as soon as it is, and that's a good thing, because I could have never planned what's happening now. 6 months ago, if you said write out a 6-month plan, the worst thing could have happened, I would have hit it, you know, and I probably would have been doing things because they were something that I made happen instead of organically let happen and grow, you know. And I found that the less involved you are, the more other people get involved, right? Someone's taking up the space. And you got to ask yourself, do I need it? You know, it's like if you did something, you went on a ride at amusement park 10 times and somebody didn't, you know, you'd want to let them go. Gretchen, and Gretchen can speak to it. I will say another thing about Gretchen that stood out, and it was adversity. And what happened is we went LinkedIn Live, and it streamed on YouTube and Facebook, but not on LinkedIn. And only about 3 or 4 people could find it. And we tried to help people, but we still did an hour. We still covered a lot of subjects. Why? Because it was going to get posted right after anyways. And the thing is, when I tell all my co-hosts, we're not just co-hosting, we're co-coaching. You know, so the session I have like with Sarah today or Gretchen tomorrow, will it be going back and forth and coming away better just if it was just me and them? And then it gets super better when you include everybody else. And then it gets even better when you include everybody else. And that's why I encourage people, not like a lot of people say comment and share. Why? Because it's going to help their situation or channel. Comment and share so it gets the visibility you deserve. It brings people into the fold. You got a chance to bring extended family into a really hot, exciting, worthwhile
conversation.
journey. Yeah, I mean, this is honestly, I talk to everybody like we got a tiger by the tail and we're riding a rocket ship. The other day I was telling somebody we're on a magic carpet ride, because you grow up, right? So many kids grow up. I want to be president. I want to be an NBA basketball star. I want to do this. And they're the same people as they get older. But somewhere along the line, there was a dream stealer. There was someone who said, you're not big enough to play. You know, you're not smart enough to do this, right? And I used to get that. Early on, I had a lot of uncles, and they would always feel required to give me advice. And in the beginning, it's like, well, these are older people, you know, they're bigger people, depending on where you are in size and age. So yeah, it must be right. And then somewhere I got a little older and I said, what has this advice done for them? Right? Who are they and how do they live and what do they live? And if I take their advice, I'll end up like them. And that was when I decided I'm only going to learn from people who can show me what they've done with this advice, right? There's so many sellers who don't buy what they sell. I had a great conversation. Great, Duke.
Great conversation.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have met without this show. And everybody needs everybody. And you don't know who anybody is until you get to meet them. Judgment is the worst thing you can ever do because it robs you of spontaneity. And a lot of times when you judge, you're rigid a little bit more. Once you draw the line, you already have, it's going to be hard to undraw it. Here's Kelly. Kelly's going to be hosting this week too. So, thank you for sharing that story, Sarah. Isn't it funny how our how pushes us through a fear? You got this. Well, go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you for that, Kelly. I appreciate your support. Yeah, it's your why. It gets you to where you're going. If you've got a really strong why and understand that why keeps pushing you forwards. So I can't not do all this podcasting because it will get the message out further. And if I don't do it, I'll deprive people, like as if you wouldn't come to Don's sessions. We're growing such a great group of people, a great community. We're connecting people together. And that's what you're all about, Don, is bringing this community together. And it's growing and growing and growing. And my why is to help people to understand they can heal. And I need to keep pushing forwards with that, as you have done with this, and grow a community around that as well. But it's stepping into that unknown. We've got to face that fear. And courage is just stepping into that fear and accepting it's there and feeling that fear, because fear is a normal emotion. It's not like danger. Danger is really real. Fear is it's an emotional response. It's an unnecessary emotional response. There's no need to have fear around some of the things. But I think conditioning gives us fear around certain things. But once we step into it, our confidence and our courage grows exponentially. And the more fear we step into, the bigger we get, as in we become more confident to be able to do more for more, which helps us to push our why we're doing it forwards.
That is so complete, the way you put that all together, and it was something that you just did. It wasn't something you read from, and it was so comprehensive in a good way. And here's the other thing. Even if you don't have the whole why, someone might be able to help you get it. Yeah. Right? Sarah's why may turn out to be your why. And you say, well, why not do it? And here's one thing I read from somebody who was pretty successful. Ask yourself, what's the worst possible thing that could happen if you did it? Yeah. Right? And if it's typically a fear, a lot of it is either unfounded, for one thing. So it's not as big a thing as you think, but you don't know that, if you don't approach it. And the other thing about it is that usually it's just yourself that, if I went up to somebody and I compliment them really well, I go out of my way all the time to find the thing I know I get attracted to, but more importantly, the person is so fond of. I was mentioning actually to Andrea, and it was a story that she grew up in Europe, right? And she loved Westerns. And she loved those stars that those marshals would wear, And one day she went to Houston and she actually saw a sheriff with a star on it. And she waited an hour so her son could take a picture with the sheriff. And it never would have happened if something in our conversation didn't bring it up. And how many people bring family members back when they think of a situation that someone brings back? Let me just run through these really quickly. Yes, not a problem, Kelly.
We know.
You're forever forgiven for anything in the future too. Maria's here. She's been a continuous guest. It is so great to see the family show up. And that's what I love about 7 days a week. You don't have time to think about anything, because when I'm starting today, I'm just finishing yesterday. So it just flows so well. And, I know I've reached out to people above and beyond LinkedIn Live, just knowing their situation, checking in on them. just to see if they're okay. I mean, that goes a long way. Don't wait, make, create, be the first. Proactivity goes so much further. And what I learned, when it's done, it's done. You can move on. When you're sitting on, you can't be on two sides of the fence at the same time. Someone once said, I'm speaking faster because we're running out of time, is don't give me a yes or a no, because I can't be put into purgatory, a maybe, and because I can move on or I can do something, but I can't keep coming back like that. Thank you always, Don, for your wisdom. It's been a pleasure meeting and hearing you speak, Sarah. And what's so beautiful about that is hopefully Sarah will continue to come back, and you'll know Sarah a little bit better every time. You'll have history on Sarah. You'll know what to expect. I mean, that's why I'm looking to get, like, Gretchen's always here. Jenny Maxwell's going to be here this week. Tara Gooch is coming back next week. And I've got some people that I just met this week that are falling in love with this. And the beauty of it, everybody I'm talking to has seen this before I talk to them, right? So they know what it is. We have Nawaz. Hello, greetings from Pakistan. And, everything we're talking about doesn't have any barriers, right? Doesn't have any issues like that. So anyways, any last minute thoughts you can bring to the table, Sarah?
Just continue being yourself, continue reaching out to other people, join other people's networks, grow your community. This is a safe space to speak out. Don't worry about what people might think, because that fear will hold you back from being who you are and who you're meant to be in the future. Just say whatever it is that you need to say. It's okay to say what you need to say. And by not saying it, by swallowing your words, you'll actually cause yourself health problems. So speak out. It will land with the people it needs to land with. And this is a safe space. Don holds a safe space for people to speak out on this show. So say whatever it is that you need to say.
Well, that also sets the record for the best goodbye on the show. And I appreciate it. And, you can never celebrate someone or something enough, right? I mean, how many birthday cakes did you say, okay, let's light them again and make another wish? Or, hey, let's sing that one more time. Well, why not make your celebrations bigger than most people anticipate? And make your times when you're sitting kind of glum. What I tell people is, whatever you're thinking about and worrying about today, you won't know in a year from now. Because if I said 365 days ago today, what were you worried about? What were you, even the week, maybe even the month? And if you say, I can't remember, then it showed you how little value it ever had in retaining it. How many people are afraid to take things back that they bought, right? Because they might not get their refund, right? Or they'll have to explain why they're bringing it back. But how many people suffer with that item knowing they didn't want it, and the only reason they didn't get something different or get their money back is they were afraid? And you can't give fear that license. It doesn't deserve it, So with that said, I've got another comment just to run through. Christine, I didn't get what this was until I joined a few times. Glad I came back. You know why? Because people aren't used to this. Yeah. They're used to somebody sitting on a pedestal talking down or at people, telling them what they're wrong about and how only they can fix it and you need to do it. And it squeezes every bit of humanity out of that person, because they've become a commodity. They become a transaction party instead of a trusted relationship thing. And, I was listening to a tape, not a tape. I was listening to a motivational thing. And what was so cool, it was a gentleman named Earl Nightingale. And he used to have a radio show in the 50s. And actually him and another gentleman created Nightingale and something. It was the number one personal development company. And he said the number one element that makes relationships valuable is courtesy. He says, you know, in every relationship, whoever has courtesy, and they should give courtesy the person in their life that takes the biggest role in their life, right? What I found, you know, and I've been married 45 years to just a wonderful lady, and actually she's volunteering to create a yoga class for possibly people on this channel, because she believes in helping people. And, you know, like that stone soup, if everybody can bring a little something to it, and, you know, just work together and find out, like the comment was, it takes a couple times if you're so used to having that armor in front of you, right, that protects you, but also restricts you. It protects things coming towards you, but it restricts things coming out of you, right? And when you can get rid of that armor and get comfortable, remember, at the end of the day, you get comfortable, right? Whatever it takes to get comfortable. Why not get comfortable at the beginning of the day, right? So here's Maria. And never let fear guide you. Many folks are in the self-made prisons of their own fears. Yeah. Just keep moving forward. You know, this Absolutely. Is so universal. Yeah. And it shows you that everybody is sharing pretty much the same environment that they're living in. And that's why this whole program has now shifted to health, mental health, emotional health, relationship health. Because if you get healthy in all those ways, the specific strategies to be a LinkedIn whatever is simple, right? Knowing best strategies is secondary to having motivation and application. You know, I just say keep doing stuff. You know, you ever see those painters that just throw gobs of paint at a canvas, you know, and how free and natural it is? You know, there's something to getting back to freedom and nature. But with that said, I'm going to end this because honestly, we could be in the Monday and then Gretchen would get squeezed for time. So thank you. Come back for Gretchen tomorrow, Andrea this week, Jenny this week, Mario this week, and almost everybody's, you know, starting to find their footing. Okay, last one from Christine. Fear can equal F everything and run, or face everything and rise. You know, yeah. I found, you know, there's a song by Alison Krauss, you know, and it's called The Lucky Man. And what she says in it is the next thing to playing and winning is playing and losing, right? Because it's the playing that's where the action, I mean, the losing and the winning is, you know, that's just a score. But here's the beauty of it. The game never ends. It replays tomorrow. Get ready for the new game and thank the old game for getting you ready for the new game. You know, it's where your gratitude is. And you can't not be better for being grateful. Because the one thing I do know from all my failures, and I've had more than my share, but it taught me how to win, is I learned much more on the way down than the way up. And it made me so much more humble and modest. You know, when you're on the way up and you think you're the reason everything is going good, you take everything for granted and you even think more. Well, if I can get this, then I can get that. On the way down, you're scratching your head. How could this have ever happened? You know, and what you find out, you're building on a house of cards. Yeah. You know, so anyways, without looking at anything else but hope, optimism, and reach out to everybody and share this. Why not? You know, it's like people who never say, I love you. What are they waiting for? Someone to come back from a war, right? I mean, so practice those things. And I ultimately think gratitude is key, but love is always the answer. You know, always. Yeah. But with that, I'm going to hit the button. Too late for anybody now. Thank you all. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much.